Florida news is always streaming on Florida 24 Network.
Tonight, a Sunshine State showdown. Republican candidates sparring in the polls battle each other on stage in Miami, while current frontrunner Donald Trump strategically avoiding the debate stage again. A new war begins as one candidate sees opportunity while another faces his own battles. A party feeling renewed unity, eyeing Florida in more ways than one. America Votes 2024, the Republican primary debate. Good evening from downtown Miami. I'm Jennifer Delacruz. In less than a half hour, 5 Republican candidates will take this stage behind me. The third Republican presidential primary debate takes place right here in Florida. And the stage is set. 5 GOP candidates for president will be front and center inside the Arch Center here in Miami. Their efforts tonight, a possible do-or-die moment to prove themselves as viable candidates in their bid for the White House. And just down the road, former President Trump avoiding the debate stage again and strategically holding his own event to counter the debate. Here is a live look from Hialeah. Donald Trump has skipped all 3 debates so far. Tonight, he's holding his own rally in an area where he is heavily supported. Governor Ron DeSantis will take the stage with former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Also on the stage tonight will be Senator Tim Scott, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy. Our correspondents are spread out from South Florida to Washington, D.C. tonight. We will look at the topics each candidate will face and take you on the ground in Hialeah. We will also take you to the state capitol in Tallahassee, where lawmakers are wrapping up a special session with several bills on the floor. Tonight's debate will only have 5 candidates. That's fewer than what we saw last month. To get here, the Republican Party first went to Milwaukee in August. At the time, 3 people represented Florida. Candidates only needed 1% in the polls and 40,000 in donors. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez did not meet the requirements and dropped out of the race shortly after the first debate. From there, the candidates headed to California, where the bar was raised. Those on the stage had to have at least 3% in 2 national polls and a minimum of 50,000 in donors. Now we're back here across the country to Florida, where candidates need 4% in polls and 70,000 donors to qualify. The goal tonight will be the same for all 5 candidates on the stage tonight. Show Floridians and America at large why they're the best alternative to the GOP frontrunner, former President Donald Trump. Florida 24 Network's Forrest Saunders explains the anticipation is high for all candidates.
For Governor Ron DeSantis, Wednesday might give a home field advantage. It was 1 year ago to the day he secured that near unheard of 19-point re-election victory during the Florida midterms. Proof, his team says, that DeSantis is the best bet for the GOP.
I am getting ready to do the debate in Miami, Florida, my home state.
Ahead of debate night, his campaign blasted out multiple fundraising emails and is still touting that major endorsement of Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds. But new UNF polling shows trouble in his backyard. DeSantis trailing former President Donald Trump 60-21 among Florida Republicans. His allies, not concerned.
No, not at all. Not at all. We don't really pay too much attention to polls. If we did, we wouldn't have been elected in 2018. They had us 14 points down.
DeSantis is also likely to face a strong offense from former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Polls show she's tied or overtaken the governor in several early states.
Without question, it's really narrowed down to those 2, to DeSantis and Nikki Haley. The other 3, this is probably their last shot because the next debate has even higher qualifications to get in.
Even so, the 3 not going down without a fight, former Governor Chris Christie, Senator Tim Scott, and Vivek Ramaswamy, all posted everything from ads to workout videos online. Meanwhile, Democrats gathering outside the venue to support the guy already in the White House, President Joe Biden, over any of the 2024 Republicans.
I just think they're out of touch. I think they're really out of touch with the American people. I know they're out of touch here in Florida.
And Forrest Saunders joins us here live in Miami. Forrest, could this be a make or break event for DeSantis tonight?
I think it's a really important event for DeSantis because obviously he's going to want to continue to try and build some momentum. He just got that endorsement from Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds. He wants to work on continuing that momentum in Iowa. Iowa's a super important state. But I don't think it's going to be a breaking point for him because you've got former President Donald Trump who's out there with 91 criminal indictments and a big question mark over everybody's head. We don't know what's going to happen with the former president. We don't know if we're going to get a conviction. And if that happens, does he stay in the race? He said he will, but we don't really know what will happen. The political future here is very uncertain. And so I think a guy like DeSantis or maybe Nikki Haley, they'd stay in the race to see what happens. They wouldn't drop out until we have a more definitive answer as to what's going to happen to former President Donald Trump.
So Trump indictments aside, what does DeSantis need to do to galvanize more people behind him and change the dynamic here?
Sure. I think Iowa is vital, not just at DeSantis, but all of these GOP candidates. They are looking at the Hawkeye state with its first in the nation caucus as a real opportunity to potentially show that, you know, the emperor has no clothes, right? That there is an alternative to the former president, that he can be taken down a peg. So if DeSantis has a strong number 2 finish or maybe even an upset victory, that may galvanize more of those never-Trumpers behind him and potentially give him the metrics to at least continue on in the race, but maybe also reverse course.
We'll see what happens tonight. Forrest, thank you so much. The 5 candidates on stage will field questions from 3 moderators tonight. Lester Holt, Kristen Welker, and Hugh Hewitt will ask the questions. Both Holt and Welker have experience moderating presidential debates, with the former fielding questions back in 2019 during a debate also held in Miami. Welker was the moderator during the final presidential debate between Trump and Biden back in 2020. Hewitt hosts a radio show on Salem Radio Network and famously clashed with Trump during the 2016 GOP presidential debate. 11 miles away in Hialeah, former President Donald Trump is hosting his own event tonight. The area has seen a surge of Trump supporters over the years. In fact, back in 2021, Trump backed Esteban Bovo during the mayoral race there, and now Trump is calling on residents in Hialeah to vote for him once again. Florida 24 network reporter Sophia Hernandez joins us live outside the venue in Hialeah. Sophia, what's it like out there right now?
Well, it's quiet right now, but we're expecting things to ramp up in a couple of minutes or so. Trump's rally has actually gotten a little bit of a later start than we expected. It was slated for 7. Donald Trump Jr. just left the stage a couple of minutes ago. We're watching it here on our screen. He has not yet gone on stage just yet, but I can tell you what we're expecting his remarks to be like. Of course, potential digs at the 5 candidates that are set to take the debate stage not too far from here in about 30 minutes or so, but also reinforcing to his supporters and those that are watching that he right now is the leader in the polls. As far as what supporters have to say, well, take a listen.
We're all here for him to show support, even though everybody is saying he's a criminal. In our lives, he's the best of the best. He's the only one that's going to save America.
We need to change things. I think we need to take things back. I can't see, I don't know if anybody says we're on the right track. I think we just need to get back on track and do the right thing. The world's on fire. I mean, 3 years ago compared to where I am today, I was much better off. Quite a few, 3 years ago. That's a short distance. That's about it.
Now, as far as the feel from earlier today, it's the usual fanfare that we have experienced at past Trump events, right? The signs, the flags, the banners, the hoopla that we've experienced. And of course, it's no secret that Trump does well and is favored highly by the Hispanic community. And I think that that's what makes this rally different from others, is that right now where we are, Hialeah, it is the heart of this Cuban-American community, specifically here in Miami. And one woman that I spoke to in particular says that she escaped her country of origin. She wasn't able to practice patriotism there, but she and others, they came out here today, exercised their right to patriotism, and wanted to show their support for the former president, who again has not taken the stage just yet to give his remarks, but of course we will be monitoring that, hearing what he has to say to not only his supporters but the nation, and we will share that right here on Florida 24 Network.
A lot of passionate voters there in Hialeah. Sophia, thank you so much. Meanwhile, Florida over the years has become a major battleground state. Chances are, if you win the state, you will likely win the election. Dating back to 1988, the candidate who has won Florida went on to get the seat in the White House 7 out of the last 9 elections. Reporter Tori Dunnan takes us to an area of the state that has since become the main stage for both sides battling for votes.
Oh, yes. This is how we fix the world problems here in Miami. Domino's is as Cuban as the flag.
A day in the park.
I've been playing dominoes since I was born.
Domino Park always means politics.
You mean how many times a day? Especially here? It's a constant conversation here.
Locals say politics will be on topic at these tables.
We all flee from whatever country to come here because of politics, or bad politics in our case.
When I come in here, I don't have nothing in Cuba. Now I wanted a freedom. This is where the Cuban come.
In Little Havana,
Republicans always cater, to the Spanish or the Cuban bowl. Let me say that. Let me rephrase that.
no shortage of sights, sounds, tastes, and smells. The importance of the Cuban vote in Miami.
They always come, they always stop at Versailles,
is crystal clear.
Here in Florida, Hispanic vote is very, very key.
FAU political science professor Kevin Wagner.
Republicans have had a lot of success in Miami-Dade, especially in recent election cycles. They've done very well with the Cuban-American vote historically, but specifically in the last election cycle, for example, Ron DeSantis did very, very well down in Miami-Dade.
The Cuban vote is just one of many key Hispanic voting blocs in Florida.
I think in politics, everybody wanted to keep it simple for a long time. They just used the word Hispanic voting bloc. I think that was smashed a while ago. I haven't heard that term for a while because of the diversity.
Back in Little Havana, for now, life goes on.
All you need is a domino table, a shot of espresso, and a mojito, and everything is great. Life is great.
With perhaps a bit more politics in the future days and months to come.
We live politics here, day in, day out.
In Miami, I'm Tori Dunnan reporting.
Our team coverage on tonight's debate continues after the break. You are looking live in Hialeah, where former President Donald Trump is holding an event. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is an America Votes 2024 special report. As we take a live look from Hialeah, Donald Trump holds a counter rally of his own since he has opted not to take the stage here at tonight's debate. This comes as breaking tonight. The Minnesota Supreme Court dismissed the insurrection clause challenge. It allows Trump to remain on the 2024 primary ballot in that state. The stage is set right behind me inside the Arched Center. 5 candidates will debate right here in Miami, and Florida is no stranger to presidential debates. Dating back to 2004, Florida hosted at least one debate each presidential cycle. Since then, the state has hosted 2 presidential debates along with 2 Republican primary debates. Tampa also hosted the Republican National Convention in 2012. Democrats also hosted a primary debate during that time frame. Tonight's debate is fresh off the heels of Election Day in several states. Reproductive rights continues to be a hot-button issue for voters, and it is likely a topic to take center stage here tonight. I spoke with Scripps News political correspondent Joe St. George a short time ago. So, Joe, let's start there. The battle over reproductive rights is playing out in the Florida Supreme Court, and we could have a decision any day now. How do you think that will play into tonight's debate?
Well, Jen, not just the Florida court ruling that we're expecting soon, but also Election Night 2023. One of the big headlines emerging from Tuesday night's contests in Virginia and Ohio and Kentucky is that reproductive rights had a pretty good night, and there are serious questions about whether or not abortion restrictions and running on that concept is something that is tenable for Republicans going forward. And when you're moderating these, whether it's a local town hall forum or whether it's a big nationally televised presidential debate like this, when you're a moderator of one of these things, you want to ask a little bit about what's happening the day of news. And in politics, a lot of people are talking about reproductive rights and abortion rights going forward. So I look for the moderators to ask these candidates point blank, when should abortion laws be passed? Should it be, is there any restrictions that you would have on your policy? It's going to be a delicate dance, though, for the candidates, because remember, Christian evangelicals in Iowa, they make up a very important voting bloc in the Iowa caucuses, which are rapidly approaching.
And Florida lawmakers are in the middle of a special session right now, Joe, with a resolution on the war in Israel leading to heated exchanges in the chambers. How deep do you expect the moderators will dig into that topic tonight?
Well, from the Republican Party's perspective, they're pretty hawkish, pretty supportive, if you will, of Israel. And I would expect this to be a race tonight on the debate stage to say who is the most supportive of Israel. The challenges for the moderators will be to contrast that with the viewpoint of many Palestinian Americans, many Arab Americans, and try to hold their feet to the fire on some of these humanitarian reports that we're getting out of Gaza. But I would expect the candidates to be a race, really, to say, hey, I support Israel the most. Look for Governor DeSantis, look for Senator Tim Scott to really battle on this particular issue.
It'll be interesting to see if DeSantis has any type of home field advantage here in Florida tonight. Joe, thank you so much. Here in Miami, Governor Ron DeSantis is preparing for the debate, but across the state, lawmakers are working in a special session. It was originally called for to increase support for Israel. Reporter Michael Paluska explains some in the chamber feel it's riddled with hidden agendas.
As this debate gets closer and closer with Governor Ron DeSantis in the national spotlight, we've been hearing some interesting things here covering the special session at the state capitol. The Democrat House Minority Leader telling me she feels as though this special session that we've been covering was a big waste of time. She thinks that a lot more could have been done. There could have been more things for Floridians to have been focused in on in these short couple of days, like homeowners insurance going up. And she told me that she feels as though this is just talking points in the victories for the Republican supermajority, who have a majority, they can pass pretty much whatever they want, to get Governor Ron DeSantis those talking points to boost and prop him up. So that's what the House Minority Leader here for the Democrat caucus told us. And so we'll have to see what comes up, what Governor Ron DeSantis decides to focus in on and tout as victories. But we do know that hurricane disaster relief is one thing that happened here. Supporting Israel is something that passed, $45 million in funds to protect Jewish institutions, and also school vouchers for children with special needs got $350 million. We'll have to see what comes up. We're here in the state capitol. Michael Paluska reporting.
We are giving you a live look at the debate stage where DeSantis and 4 other candidates will be at the top of the hour. DeSantis has invited a few people who evacuated from Israel to Florida. Our team coverage on tonight's debate continues after the break. Here's another live look of the stage in Hialeah, where voters there are waiting for former President Donald Trump to take the stage as he holds his counter rally to the Republican primary debate happening here in Miami. Welcome back to our live coverage from Miami. A short time ago, I had a chance to chat with our political expert, Susan McManus, about the debate about to take place here any minute now and what is at stake for each of those candidates. Let's start with the moderators. Do you think there's going to be a different tone tonight compared to the past debates?
I know that the audience hopes so, because it really got out of control, them talking over each other and not being able to let people finish their comments. I certainly hope so. What's interesting, though, are these moderators reflect more of an ideological balance than we've seen in the previous debates. For example, the NBC is seen as a little bit more liberal, so you have 2 moderators there. But you also, for the first time, have a conservative host on talk radio. And I think that it will be intriguing to see what kinds of questions you see or different approaches that these moderators who represent sort of different political views might give the candidates. It should be fascinating.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see if they can keep everyone under control as well. And another question we want to ask you, let's talk a little bit about the GOP. They've had a lot of chaos surrounding the Speaker of the House, and Democrats had big wins last night in Virginia and in Kentucky. What do the candidates tonight need to do to rally support behind the Republican Party?
Well, one thing they need to avoid is really bashing each other. And at the GOP summit in Orlando last weekend, the candidates that started really bashing the other ones didn't get a very good reception. I think Republicans understand that they have got to come together. Unity is a big plus right now that they need to accomplish. And it's going to be interesting to see whether the candidates just can't help themselves. Some that are not doing so well on the polls may just say, well, I've got nothing to lose but just bashing my opponents.
Yeah, whatever they can do to get publicity, right? And Susan, do you think this could be a big turning point for some of these candidates and their efforts to move forward after tonight?
I absolutely do. For one thing, the threshold to get into the next debate is a lot higher. And there are 3 on the stage that would have difficulty probably meeting those criteria. It would be Christie, Ramaswamy, and Scott. But will they get out voluntarily like Pence did? Probably not. Because these candidates, while Trump is so far ahead, they're not convinced that what we see about Trump today may be what the public feels as we go down through the primary process. And so for them to get out, if they can't meet the criteria, is one thing. If they meet the criteria to voluntarily leave, I don't think you're going to see that. They're going to stay in because they just hope against all odds that they have a shot.
Dr. McManus, we always appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Governor DeSantis is trying to make a statement here in his home state of Florida. Much of his campaign, he has discussed what he believes the Biden administration is not doing. He's also gone toe-to-toe with other governors. At the end of the month, he's expected to debate California Governor Gavin Newsom. The two have sparred in recent months over immigration and the handling of the homeless population, but Newsom isn't the only person DeSantis wants to face one-on-one. It's Trump. In the meantime, DeSantis will take on Newsom November 30th. However, it's worth noting the 4th Republican primary debate will be the following week. The party says it will hold the event December 6th in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Of course, we will be here watching every step of the way. We hope you will stay with us for our coverage as we race to 2024. Thanks for joining us live from Miami. I'm Jennifer Delacruz for Florida 24 Network.